Greenspit is one of the most classic and hardest pure crack climbing test pieces in Europe. And I would really love to give it a good flash try. It's not that easy to find pure crack climbing in the world, and the real mecca is definitely either Yosemite Valley in California or Indian Creek in Utah. Valle dell'Orco in Italy is actually a sort of European version of Yosemite. And the crack climbing here started in 1970 with the first ascent of Fessura Kosterlitz. I asked Marcello Bombardi, who is my longtime friend, and we used to compete together since we were little kids, and we are exactly the same age. And I think it's gonna be cool to climb together. And besides Marcello, I'm also meeting Andrea Giorda, who is a total legend here, who developed some of the early cracks and who is also able to tell us about the climbing history here, which is definitely interesting.
Qui siamo nel Parco del Gran Paradiso, questa è la Valle dell'Orco, questa è anche la valle, quella del Nuovo Mattino. Io mi chiamo Andrea Giorda, ho avuto la fortuna di avere 20 anni quando qui cambiava tutto. Negli anni 70 qui è cambiato un pochettino la storia dell'arrampicata e dell'alpinismo e io ho avuto modo di conoscere un po' tutti i protagonisti, da Giampiero Motti a Manera, tutti quelli diciamo che hanno fatto la storia qua, quelli che hanno scoperto questi posti. L'arrampicata in fessura, diciamo che qui un po' da tutta Europa vengono a scalare in fessura. La prima cosa che fanno, vanno a fare il test d'ingresso, che è la Fessura Kosterlitz.
Kosterlitz was a Scottish climber who came here to ski, but saw this pretty pure crack line, which is a 7-meter high boulder, and he just did it. So the first ascent of Fessura Kosterlitz is a sort of a starting point for a European crack climbing revolution. But not only crack climbing, but also the idea of climbing the cracks in clean style, not aiding and not drilling.
Beh, diciamo che l'importanza di Kosterlitz è fondamentale. Lui non ha solo fatto tra l'altro la Fessura Kosterlitz, ma ha fatto una via fondamentale che è la via del sole nascente. Anche questo nome è molto evocativo, no? La via del sole nascente, perché il sole nascente era questo nuovo vento del nuovo mattino. Lui ha fatto, sì, ci ha fatto vedere la scalata in fessura, ma non solo. Lui è il primo che ha portato i nat dall'Inghilterra e con sorpresa noi li abbiamo visti, e quindi è anche quello che ha introdotto quello che per noi era una religione oramai, che era il clean climbing.
Kosterlitz as a bowl problem is quite funny because if you know how to jam, it gets into pretty simple bowl problem from the modern point of view, but definitely if you don't have the right jamming technique, it's really difficult to get to the top of this boulder. I think it's a really nice test piece to find out if you know how to jam or not.
La mia generazione era quella dei giovani. Negli anni 70 i giovani erano la maggioranza e contestavano tutto, e hanno contestato anche le regole dell'arrampicata, poi alla fine dell'alpinismo, no? Dell'alpinismo quello eroico. Noi dicevamo che non è un eroe quello che va in montagna, no? Ma è quello che piglia il tram tutti i giorni per andare alla Fiat a lavorare, quello sì che è un eroe, non noi che stavamo in questa valle qui, diciamo, a scalare, come potevamo essere eroi? Giampiero Motti diceva le montagne non si conquistano ma si amano, questo era un pochettino il discorso e quello è lo spirito del nuovo mattino, quindi poter metterci più tempo a salire una parete, non dover sempre lottare con la montagna.
I always enjoy climbing historically important route, and this first ascent from Andrea, Sitting Bull from 1979, was something that I thought I absolutely had to do. And quite crazy to think that it was done in the era before Friends and Camelots. I think climbing this thing with hexes is quite crazy. I have zero experience in placing them, and not having experience like which size could be the one, it's pretty hard. But I think this cred could be protected a bit better using the knots which we use on the Czech sandstone.
Poi dall'82 in poi sono nati View, poi Finale, tutti i posti dove è nata l'arrampicata sportiva e anche il livello di arrampicata si è alzato tantissimo perché finalmente si poteva cadere. Noi quando scalavamo non potevamo cadere, adesso sembra strano ma è così, cioè noi quando scalavamo dovevamo poter salire e scendere o se non altro non potevamo cadere, era molto difficile poi proteggersi. Diciamo che il nostro modo di scalare era sicuramente non legato al grado, perché i gradi fa un po' ridere, adesso è difficile da capire ma non esistevano. Noi io ho aperto una via che si chiama Diedro Atomico che adesso la danno 6C+, la Sitting Bull 7A, però allora noi non avevamo i gradi e questo era anche un po' una libertà, nel senso che a noi interessava l'avventura soprattutto, cioè l'ingaggio, l'avventura, il fatto di provare, no? Molto in amicizia.
So Kosterlitz and Sitting Bull were great warm-ups for the main challenge why I came here, which is Greenspit.
But we can do it and see how it goes. Yeah. All good.
Yeah.
Oh, you just want me to go? Okay. Greenspit was one of the early crack climbs in my crack climbing journey, you could say. So I did it back when I was 18, a long time ago. And it was originally climbed by Didier, who is like really famous in the crack climbing world. He put like difficult crack climbing on the map in Europe, especially with this route, Greenspit. So it originally actually had bolts in it, but then Didier came along and had a vision of climbing it on gear. He made the first ascent, it was given 8B+, and then he chopped the bolts afterwards. I think it was revolutionary for the time because it was so different to maybe other styles of crack climbing that had been seen. You know, it went across this big horizontal roof. When Didier climbed it, he had all these like big gymnastic style moves, which had been seen in crack climbing, but not that much. If you are just a crack climber and you're just like climbing little vertical cracks with lots of different technique, then you're going to struggle on these kind of big gymnastic style of moves. So I think having the ability to combine the two is really important for Greenspit.
Greenspit is very steep route. Probably it is a roof, but it's also overhanging in a strange way that you actually don't know if it's mostly a traverse or you sort of climb diagonally. And considering its length, which is maybe only 13 meters, it's definitely very bumpy with cracks in the end of the roof. It's also true that cracks are climbed slower. I am, as a sport climber, very fast, and that feels like the most efficient way. I just need to force myself to slow down a bit and be more precise when I place my hand jams and when I place my feet inside the cracks. It's like not worth it to try to sprint through the roof. The hardest part was to decide which beta to go for the crux. There are 3 betas for the crux. The original, which involves strange kind of finger rock and then crossing over. The crazy beta, which is basically skipping everything and just jumping from good hand jam to another good hand jam, which looks like very low percentage. I was not really thinking about it. And then the new beta, which involves crossing over into the same hand jam with your right hand and then continuing. The original method is the second move is hard. The new method is the first move is hard.
I think if you are stronger, just like a bit physically stronger, then doing this crossway with the right hand is potentially easier. Whereas if you potentially don't have the strength, then you're more in like a red point sort of zone and you can really work out the next bit of sequence and exactly what you're doing with your feet, then potentially going this way is easier. So if you're red pointing, maybe this way. If you're trying to flash shot on site, maybe this way is better.
Looking at it, I just thought like, maybe you just need smaller hands to be able to do the new method, and my hands are quite big, so probably the decision is that I go for the original way. Okay, it's decided. I go the original way. I was quite confident before coming here that it should work out, but then seeing the climb for real, seeing how steep it was, and also looking at Marcello, that some of those jams and also foot jams are maybe not as solid as I thought, made me question my confidence for sure. So what's in my bag for a day of tread climbing? Single rope, harness, chalk. Most of the tread routes I do with the helmet. Today it's only crack climbing, so these are the crack climbing shoes. Cams, I'm not bringing any nuts. And Greenspit, for example, is quite short route, so just one set of cams is enough. 2 quick draws, just in case. In here I have the crack climbing gloves, which is basically essential because if you don't climb often enough on cracks, your skin on this part will suffer a lot. And most of the cracks are actually a bit easier because you just have better friction of the rubber here. Some sandpaper to file some cuts. And I actually ended up bringing quite a lot of tape. I quite often don't even have a tape in my bag. It's also sort of superstitious. I feel like if I don't have tape, I don't split and I will not use it. But in crack climbing, it's quite often that you're just bleeding from various places, so I thought it makes sense. Here I have the lunch, a proper warm lunch in the thermo box. Inside there is the quinoa from my sponsor Mixit. It's done in the morning and it will be still warm while I'm having it. I have some hazelnuts from here, from Piedmont. Also nice to share something with your friends at the crack. And I think they say the hazelnuts from Piedmont are the world's best. They are really nice. Just when I feel I need some more energy, it's either some more complex power, and these new 6 flavors of these bars from Mixit are just great option. It's always combination of nuts, seeds, honey or chocolate. And for some very quick energy when I feel like I need a little bit of power boost just before giving a try in my project, I always have a piece of fruit or these crème boule. They are like really, really good. It's a nice sort of substitute if you are like into the chocolate, but you don't want to eat chocolate too much. This is really, really good, or maybe actually too good. So this is my equipment, what I bring for the crack.
Adam's a really good crack climber. Although he may say he's not done it that much, and he probably hasn't done it that much, Adam's just picks up stuff so quickly. He knows what he's doing, so I believe that, you know, if he knows all the details and he hits the sequence right, then I have full confidence.
Yes! Yes! Woo! Okay. Woo! Ah. Okay, I decided for the right thing. Yeah. I saw it and I felt the hand jam really good. But I almost fell at the third cam. It's like having the side pull and trying to place it. I really didn't like it.
It's funny, but amazing.
Grazie. Valle dell'Orco is a place of a rare natural beauty. I enjoyed the trip so much. I'm blown away by how much climbing there is still to be done and how much there is already developed. The guidebook is as thick. And also for me, I think it made me even more psyched to maybe find a crack, which would be really inspiring for me. The fact that cracks are actually quite rare, to find something which is possible to protect and something which is climbable but at the same time really hard makes it even more special, and you get to appreciate it even more when you find such a gem like Greenspit. So I don't know, maybe in the future I'll be lucky to maybe find a project of my own. The thing that there's actually one line on this wall makes Greenspit even more special. But there is actually addition, a boulder route, a combination of a traverse into the Greenspit, first ascended by Tom Rendell, called La Pura Pura. And since we were there, it was just an obvious step to give it a try as well. I felt like I climbed the first traverse quite poorly and actually quite on the limit. And when I made it to the beginning of Greenspit, I thought like, there's very little chance that I could actually do the climb. But then the knee bar was actually quite good and I felt I recovered quite well. I love about crack climbing that there is different sort of fatigue which you experience. I think in a regular face climbing, you never really ever reach this sort of fatigue because you always need to hold on. And usually there are like physically harder moves. Like if you reach a certain fatigue, you're just too tired to hold on. But because you climb cracks, you're always somehow like jammed. So you can actually fight more, you can dig deeper, and you reach just higher state of fatigue, which I think is really, really interesting.